Picture this. The actual architects of tomorrow, the brilliant minds who are literally designing the future of human technology, simply vanishing into the shadows. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking a series of events so bizarre, so incredibly unsettling, they honestly feel like they've been pulled straight out of a sci-fi thriller. But here's the thing, this isn't fiction. We're tracking a highly documented, deeply terrifying pattern of disappearances and sudden deaths among the world's most elite scientists.
So, what exactly happens when the world's most brilliant minds just disappear? Are they the tragic victims of random chance? Or are they casualties on a high-stakes, unseen battlefield? The source material we're exploring today paints a truly gripping picture of a modern technological shadow war. We're talking about a covert operation where the absolute brightest minds on the planet are seemingly being isolated, targeted, and erased without a single trace.
To really wrap your head around the gravity of this, you have to look at the sheer scale of the anomaly. We are talking about 21 top-tier experts. That's 12 scientists in the United States and 9 in China. And look, these aren't your average researchers. These are individuals working on the absolute bleeding edge of human capability. We're talking artificial intelligence, hypersonics, space defense, advanced nuclear propulsion, the whole shebang. And they've either suddenly vanished into thin air or met with some highly, highly unusual ends.
Let's look at this next section, the digital ghost, erasing the footprint.
Okay, let's dive into this, because before these experts vanish, a really chilling, uniform pattern starts to emerge. Investigators have grouped these incidents, and they all kick off with the intentional stripping of a target's digital identity. In our hyperconnected world, these scientists are basically turning themselves into digital specters right before they walk out the door. Take NASA nuclear propulsion engineer Joshua LeBlanc. He left his phone and wallet behind before dying in a really mysterious Tesla crash just hours later. Or at Los Alamos, researcher Melissa Cassius executed a complete factory reset of all her devices. She literally turned her digital existence into vapor before vanishing without a trace. It's almost like a synchronized command was sent out, ordering them to go dark.
And then you have the case of 68-year-old former Air Force Research Laboratory Commander General William McCaslin. One morning, the general just abandons his phone, his smartwatch, his cars, and, incredibly, even his prescription glasses. He walked out the door with nothing but a pair of hiking boots and a .38 caliber revolver. His wife, Susan, told police point blank he planned not to be found. I mean, why does a top-tier military commander go to such terrifying lengths to completely erase his footprint?
Which brings us to the next piece of the puzzle: invisible weapons, the silent strike.
This is where the narrative shifts from eerie disappearances to some truly terrifying accounts of unseen warfare. Look at the tragic timeline of 34-year-old anti-gravity researcher Amy Eskridge. She realized she was actively being hunted through her own walls. Unseen energy beams were capturing 3D images of her typing data. Complete strangers were approaching her at local bars using social engineering to intimidate her by citing her highly classified work. Terrified, she sent a text to her friends saying, and I quote, "If you hear I died of suicide or an overdose, it's a lie." Exactly 1 month later, she died of a gunshot wound. And the official ruling? Suicide.
But the evidence tells a much darker story. An ex-CIA weapons expert on Amy's team actually found fresh burn marks just outside her window. His conclusion? She was targeted by an RF K-band emitter. Now, this is an advanced directed energy weapon, and he noted it was likely powered by 5 car batteries hooked up in an SUV parked just feet from where she slept. The severe burns on her hands and neck, along with the intense vertigo she suffered, perfectly matched the infamous Havana syndrome. Guys, this invisible, high-tech threat is viscerally, terrifyingly real.
Now for Section 3, Secret Knowledge, the Ultimate Motive.
So, why deploy invisible energy weapons or force brilliant people into the shadows? Well, the answer lies in the highly classified futuristic research these individuals possessed. Just notice the futuristic specialties we've mapped out here. Monica Regia co-invented Manda alloy, absolutely crucial for advanced rocket engines. General McCaslin was allegedly advising on zero-point energy, which theoretically could power the country using invisible energy pulled right from the air. Over in China, 38-year-old AI superstar Feng Yongji, who designed Taiwan invasion simulations, died in a sudden car crash. And strikingly, official Chinese state media termed his death a sacrifice and buried him in a cemetery reserved for national martyrs. You know, you don't call a random car crash a sacrifice unless a covert war is actually being fought.
Western think tanks have a name for this geopolitical strategy. They call it the deterrent effect. Think about it. If a superpower wants to stop a rival nation from achieving future tech dominance, they don't just declare war and start firing conventional bullets. No, they silently isolate, terrorize, and eliminate the rival's brightest minds. They literally cripple their scientific progress for decades without ever leaving a fingerprint. It is the ultimate covert strike.
Moving on to the next part. Shadow war or statistical noise?
Okay, as gripping as this global shadow war theory is, our job here is to look at the source material objectively. We have to shift gears for a minute from sci-fi thriller to cold, hard statistics. Is this an invisible war, or is our human brain just sort of connecting random dots? Let's ground this with a massive number, 700,000. That is the approximate size of the United States aerospace and nuclear workforce holding top-secret clearances. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the entire population of a major city like Boston or Seattle, just going about their normal daily lives. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is when you break down the data from science writer Mick West. In a population of 700,000 people over a 22-month period, statistics dictate a very expected mortality rate. You're going to see around 4,000 natural deaths, 180 suicides, and about 70 deaths due to crime. West argues that within those entirely normal expected parameters, isolating 12 scientists who died in unusual circumstances isn't some grand conspiracy, it's honestly just statistical noise. It's a classic case of confirmation bias, where our brains are only looking for the data that perfectly fits a spooky narrative. Let's look at how this plays out in reality. When MIT plasma director Nuno Loureiro was tragically shot outside his home, the internet immediately screamed global hit job. But, police investigations revealed a much more heartbreaking reality. The shooter was actually a troubled former classmate of his from back in the 1990s named Valentin, who was carrying out a larger, senseless shooting spree. It was a personal vendetta. It was a severe mental health crisis. It was definitely not a coordinated strike by a foreign superpower.
And now, our final section. The 10-day countdown.
So we have two wildly different realities here, one of a silent, high-tech war and one of tragic but mathematically expected statistical noise. But the reason we're talking about this today, the real kicker, is because the highest levels of government are absolutely not treating this as just noise. They're panicking. The alarm is being sounded by some of the most respected minds on the planet. World-famous physicist Dr. Michio Kaku recently stated that in his decades-long career, he has never seen a situation like this. He validates the gravity of this pattern, explicitly calling the simultaneous loss of these highly cleared experts an unprecedented national security threat. And let's be real, when top scientists are this deeply disturbed, the government listens.
And the government's response has been sweeping. The House Oversight Committee is fired off demanding letters to the Pentagon, the Department of Energy, and NASA, actively hunting for missing links between these scientists. FBI Director Kash Patel has just announced a holistic review of these cases. And, adding massive fuel to the fire, President Trump established a sweeping 10-day deadline for the declassification of UFO and UAP secret files. This suggests these dark reports might finally expose whether a foreign conspiracy is truly at play here. It's huge.
Which leaves us standing right at the edge of the unknown. As those classified files prepare to finally see the light of day, we have to ask ourselves, are these vanishing minds really just a tragic mathematical coincidence in a massive workforce? Or is an advanced silent war already underway? A war where the very futuristic tech these brilliant minds created ultimately signed their death warrants? Keep your eyes on the data, folks, because the ultimate weapon might just be hiding in plain sight. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.